A new UK-wide compensation scheme has been announced for sub-postmasters with overturned convictions. Around 900 people will qualify for the scheme, which applies to everyone who was exonerated by a law introduced in May.
Two compensation routes will be available, including one that offers £600,000 as a final settlement, and another route for sub-postmasters who think that they are owed more.
Well, let's speak to solicitor Michael Madden, who represented some of the local victims of the post office scandal, and he explains what could happen next. Michael, morning to you.
Morning.
I mean, when you take a look at this, £600,000 as a final settlement, another route for sub-postmasters in which they will qualify for compensations and given an immediate £200,000 payout. Clearly, these are two different options, but actually it's quite difficult, I imagine, for some of those to work out exactly what is best for them, particularly when they've been through such a legal process already.
Yes, every case is different and every case has to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. £600,000, it's a significant sum in anybody's books. Now, some people may feel that is sufficient. Other people may feel that it doesn't meet the losses and that they suffered. So there is a process built in to the new scheme where if people feel that the 600,000 doesn't cover their losses, then there's a process to evaluate the claims, and there's scope for higher fees to be available.
And just explain that, though, because if you are looking at doing that, does that mean many more days in court? Does it mean going through another extended process? Because as I mentioned, I'm sure there are people here who've been involved in legal processes and don't want any part of them again.
Well, the advantage of the scheme is the idea behind it is that it does make the route to compensation quicker. The idea is to avoid protracted court proceedings. The part of the scheme where people who want to go beyond the 600,000, I would have to look at that with an open mind really at this stage, and hope that the process is dealt with in a quick way, and again keeping an open mind at the moment. But I know through other schemes that are in place, for example the historical shortfall scheme, a common complaint is that the scheme is slower than people want it to be. So really the scheme was only announced yesterday, and I think I'd like to keep an open mind at this stage.
Yeah, and I'm sure for those people who have already, been fighting in order to get those convictions cleared, in order to try and get some recognition, this is going to be welcomed. Have you been speaking to any of them? How do they feel about this? Is this satisfying them in terms of the kind of redress that they want now, Michael?
It is now. This scheme applies to people who are having their convictions overturned by the legislation that was introduced back in May. Now, at the moment, as far as I'm aware, none of those people have had confirmation that the convictions have been overturned. The DOJ had given me a time frame of the end of July. Now we're into the last day of July, and it looks like that time frame isn't going to be met. Now, officials from the DOJ did assure me yesterday that letters would be getting sent out very quickly. So hopefully it won't be too long before people find out. So, but really this scheme won't really be able to kick in until these people have had their convictions confirmed as being overturned.
I mean, sometimes we get lost a little bit in kind of the process of this, and we get lost in what is legislation. Can I just ask, from somebody who does work with these people, that does have conversations, what kind of a lasting impact has this had on all of them, Michael?
Although every case is different, there are some very similar patterns that it seems everybody experiences, and the impact in this particular case, these cases, it's a very similar impact on people's mental health, their relationships with family, friends, their community. It's very hard to overestimate how damaging the scandal really has had on them, and the delay is a big factor as well. People have been waiting for a long time to get convictions overturned. That process is still ongoing. The compensation element of that is further on off as well.
And why is that financial compensation so important?
Well, although nothing can ever get the years back that people lost, people have lost earning potential. They have lost reputations. They haven't been able to undertake other employments or opportunities that they otherwise would have been able to undertake. So when you're talking about years and years and years of loss of earnings, plus the compensation that people are entitled to for their health being affected, for their relationships being affected, their reputations being affected, the effect really is startling, really.
Yeah, it's so important just to mention that as well, the impact on reputations and how people felt as a result of it. Solicitor Michael Madden, thank you very much indeed.